really lacked, we were trying to build a sustainable online revenue model, so we really lacked in that area, so we linked up with a couple of people who helped us build out that business model. Yeah, so we just looked at the areas where we didn't have any knowledge or experience, and then asked around and did our homework on who do we admire in that area, who's doing a really good job, and would they take a few hours out of their life every few months to spend time with us. These were 5 people that kind of like fell into business together, so I don't think we all necessarily would have, I personally wouldn't have chosen to go into business with those 5 people. So it was an interesting scenario to be in, because I was like, how do you, asking Judy, like, how do you, I'm not their boss, we're all equal. How do you, when you know what something is the right thing to do, but the other person doesn't, simply because they don't have the business acumen, how do you make things happen? And she said, you need a third party, whether it's, a coach or a trusted advisor that you're using, or why don't you consider a board? And so the board idea was born, within a month, I think, and the whole group of us were like, that's an awesome idea. And then I think it took less than a month to find people, approach them, and actually have our first board meeting was terrible. Like, we thought we were so great, and they like tore a strip off us. So it was really valuable.
That's great. You guys, thank you. These were the questions that I put together for these guys, and I really wanted to take this opportunity now to turn it over to you.
That we hired, for the first several years, I hired very junior designers, even right out of school, mostly on the belief that I would drive the creative and they would just help me execute. And I think in the long run, and again, Cliff said he did it, and so maybe this is more what I would have done, but I wouldn't have hired junior people. I wouldn't have made the assumption that my creative ability could carry the whole thing. And all I needed was people to help me execute. And I should have hired better designers who could have carried the load. Basically driven by how much money we had.
Yeah.
And Cliff said, you said you overspent, and that.
Like today we're an elite firm specialized only in accounting and finance. And of my staff, almost 70% of them are designated accountants. And so you want to talk about a recruiting nightmare, try and find accountants who can sell. Well, but what I did in the early days is I took on some searches that weren't exactly true to what I was hoping to build in the accounting finance world. And so going back, I probably would have, even though it was a nice revenue stream at that point, I probably would have said no to that business and stuck to what I was hoping to build.
I would just add for myself is going from the corporate world into having my own business was really taking all the things I learned over the 25 years in retail, but really stepping into the success that I knew I could have in having my own business and believing in myself. And I think it took me a lot longer to realize what that meant and what that looked like. And I think as soon as I started to surround myself by people who helped build your confidence and helped you see what you could achieve, all of a sudden things started to move forward so much faster. So for me, it was really like, how do you step into your confidence faster and really understand what you can achieve?
I hate social media. I really do. And we do it for clients all the time. Yeah, it's become the new, you have to. So have we gotten a client through Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn? I can't think of a very relevant example of how we have, and I think we do somewhat innovative things. I mean, I think we're a good example of the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. Especially in the social media realm, because it's not, like I said, what do I like to do, what am I good at doing? It's actually not social media. I have brilliant people who do social media for my company. I freaking hate it. I hate it. I don't care what you're having for lunch today. So I guess, I don't know, it sounds all very negative. Yeah, I think it's something you have to do to be competitive, and I think if you work with the right people, they can show you ways that they've been able to generate business. I personally haven't had much of an experience getting business from social media, but we do it because we have to.
Yeah, we've got one client from a newsletter we sent out talking about something we've just done for another client. That's the only, you know, tangible benefit of what we've done. I think what's been important for us with social media, and you know, same thing, we, in spite of the fact that we do it and hire people to do it for our clients, we've tiptoed into it, and we've really taken the approach that it's got to be really relevant to our clients.
Certainly on the PR world, every journalist is pretty much on Twitter. There's a whole host of expectations now on the media community to live blog and post, and everything goes online, and be on Twitter, and be on this and be on that. It is a phenomenal tool to connect directly with journalists and to get a good sense of what they're working on, and you know, like, you can actually tell if they're in the office or not by their tweeting. So stuff like that has helped me do my job better. But for growing the business, I haven't had tons of experience there.
There's so many different pieces to that, and I think every company is so different. But it definitely creates a brand that can move beyond yourself.
I did quite a detailed business plan before as I started, and it sat in a drawer. But I think what happens is it starts to get some ideas going in your head, and if you can generally picture where you want to end up, it's a lot like if you want to take a road trip to Orlando, Florida, you're going to make a rough plan, but if you end up going via Toronto along the way, big deal, but you know ultimately where you want to end up, roughly speaking. One part of that exercise that did pay big dividends for me was I built out an org chart as to what I thought my company would need. It was just me, but I built an entire org chart and it was a functional org chart, so it showed, all right, this person will be take care of that, and that, and that, and that. And I realized that I was filling every bubble today, but I also realized what I needed to hire for and which bubbles I didn't want to have. So it allowed me to kind of realize that when I met people, I want to hire them because they'd be good in that bubble, or someone like them. And that part of the exercise was hugely valuable. But you're right, I mean, whatever you lay out today is going to need to be tweaked in 3 to 6 months. But tweak it, it's fine. It allows you to work on your business as opposed to, you know, not.
The long-term strategy allows you to be inspired about possibilities. And I think that the 3 to 6 months plan brings it down to reality and gets you doing the stuff that you need to do to move it forward. But I think it's really important to have those moments of possibility. It keeps us all inspired and excited and helps us to see way beyond what we think could be achieved.